Yet another game given to me for free for the purpose of doing a review, this time from developer Wired Dream Studios and ported to the Nintendo Switch by QuByte Entertainment. There's very little to talk about with this game because it's extremely short and very basic. But it's not too bad, and if it means anything, it does have a price point that at least tries to reflect its amount of content. There's no story whatsoever, or any explanation about anything, not even a tutorial for the gameplay. You're immediately thrown into this hub room and you have to figure out the rest on your own. That's not hard to do though, because, as I'll explain later, the controls are as simple as it can get. The game kind of pretends to have a story, mostly with its ending, but there's really nothing here. Not a complaint, I'm never gonna argue that a game should have more of a story or anything, just an observation. So while there's no story, the rest of the presentation is alright. The pixel art looks good, everything is clear at a glance, and its style reminds me a little bit of Celeste. The music is nice too, nothing substantial, but hey, it's pretty good. Gets the job done. That's about it. The gameplay of Raven's Hike is sort of an action puzzle platformer, and I say sort of for a few reasons. You can't walk or jump. In fact, your only action for the entire game is pressing the D-pad to instantly fire your grapple hook gun in that direction. You can also keep that direction held down when you hit a wall or ceiling in order to hang in place, but that's really everything with the controls. The actual buttons are only ever used for, like, the pause menu or to enter a door in the hub. Otherwise, you only ever use the 4 directions of the D-pad to play the game. The goal is to reach an exit door in each level while avoiding the many hazards. Half of the levels require you to collect these blue gems to unlock the door, and occasionally there will be an optional golden feather to pick up as well. As you can see, every level spans only a single screen, so you can easily plan how to proceed. If you do touch a hazard, the level resets, but it's not like you're losing much progress. Some of the harder levels will require a ton of attempts, which can lead to a sort of trial and error approach, but the game is short and fast-paced enough that this isn't so annoying. The hazards start off simple enough, being spikes on walls or platforms that fall automatically after having touched them, but they eventually get more threatening as things start to actively chase the player around. Unfortunately, and as is going to be a theme of my criticism here, none of the mechanics or setups are ever taken far enough. You're presented with a challenge of a new obstacle, and then a couple of variations, and then it's over. You end up going through a fair number of levels, but very few of them stand out as being particularly interesting or memorable. I do like the rarely utilized golden feathers because it can be surprisingly difficult to backtrack when you're already ready to leave, but that aspect in itself isn't strong enough to carry the game as a whole in a meaningful way. Besides, the golden feathers don't even seem to do anything. I missed a few, but then I went on to complete the game, and then I went back to get the ones I missed, and I beat the final level again, and nothing seemed to change. Not that there necessarily needs to be a reward, but it would have helped. Ultimately, the real problem with Raven's Hike is its simplicity. While playing, I could only imagine a more traditional platformer where the D-pad controls movement, jumping could be set to one of the shoulder buttons, and the 4 face buttons dictate the 4 different directions to fire the grapple gun. And I wish I could have played that game. It could have done so much to open up what the gameplay could be capable of, but I also understand that oversimplification was likely part of the developer's main goal, to try to do as much as possible with as little as possible. That's fine, but even then, there's definitely a lack of refinement. There's no momentum or inertia to the movements, which makes the game feel stiff and a little unsatisfying. In fact, if you fire the grapple gun in midair, You just stop falling and hover in place before the grapple gun even attaches to anything. It would have been great if you could use your momentum to swing yourself further or add an arc, or just something to add a little bit of depth. There aren't even any bosses, unless you count the final level since it's the only one that goes on for a few screens, but it doesn't amount to much. Even considering how simplistic it is as it stands, I can't help but feel that more couldn't have been done to help deepen the game somehow. At least with better level design and more ways for the hazards to hinder the player. You would figure that a game of this kind would come with some sort of time limit or minimum moves constraint. That is to say, beat the level within this time frame or with this few number of fires of the grapple gun, but neither is the case. There is a personal record of time spent and deaths accumulated at the very end, so at least there's something. I guess you could speedrun the game in that sense if you want, but a proper in-game challenge would have helped go a long way. A game like this would have been right at home on Newgrounds.com, but as a proper video game, it is lacking. That being said, it's hard for me to hate on it too much. The most expensive I could find it for is a measly $5, so you're not really losing out on much if you decide to buy it, especially on a sale. However, you're not getting a whole lot out of this either. It's an okay distraction for about 60 to 90 minutes of your time, and then you'll move on. Thanks for watching my review on Raven's Hike.